clicking, but I'm looking for a sister to revive the wind kissing. If you want some melody, just let me know.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder it's time to have a look at another vehicle that's going to be coming to the game in the form of the event Battlefield Engineer. This is probably the most anticipated one after looking at general community reaction from both sides of it. It is the Merkava Mk.1. Now, this machine is coming to the American tech tree. I know a lot of people were hoping that it was going to be in the British tech tree, but to be honest, it makes more sense being in the American one just because the gun itself is a lend-lease, or well, not lend-lease, but licensed copy of the M68-105 that we see from the Americans. Now, because of this, if we look at Battlefield Engineer, we only have two vehicles left that haven't been announced, which is the Battle Toaster, the the German AA vehicle with the 88, which will be used as a tank destroyer, and then of course the large light cruiser. Now, because the large light cruiser was seen as a British light cruiser, it was very hard for me to believe that the Merkava would also be British. Two high-tier vehicles in the same event for the same nation doesn't really make a lot of sense. So that's why, at least in my estimation, this was always going to be in the American tech tree, unless the ideas around the light cruiser were wrong. So what are we getting out of the Merkava? Well, you're getting quite a large vehicle. It's it's quite huge, but it has a four-man crew in the form of a driver, 3 men in the turret, a commander, gunner, and loader, a lot of protection for what it has, and also a fully stabilized 105mm, which should be able to fire APFSDS. This is a vehicle from the 1960s/70s, and it is basically coming in hard into War Thunder at rank 6. This vehicle was basically designed by the Israelis because a deal fell through with the British to buy the Chieftain MBT, so instead the Israelis took it upon themselves to build the Merkava, and then subsequent Merkavas later on in its lifespan. What was emphasized mainly about this machine was the survivability of the crew, and also the gun performance and some of the historic actions that they had taken place in, such as the Yom Kippur War. They wanted to try and adapt a vehicle to fit those certain battle situations. Another thing that is also interesting about the Merkava, which does make it slightly larger than your usual vehicle, is that it has a crew compartment in the back of it. This crew compartment can carry what I believe is up to about 6 infantry, fully infantry combat, people, whereas I've seen some sources say 10. I highly doubt that you can fit 10 people in there, but then again, who am I to say? What I'm wondering is whether this will actually be implemented in War Thunder, whether you can either carry troops or whether you can do something with AI, or maybe they will count as, secondary backup drivers and gunners and all of this wonderful stuff. On top of it, you also have a bunch of machine guns on the top, as you can see, which can be used to either take out helicopters or planes or just lighter vehicles, because that is something that we also have to think about since this is going to be rank 6. It's going to be able to go up against helicopters, it's going to be able to go up against the majority of stuff, and since it's rank 6, that's why I think it's going to get its APFSDS round. Now, Gaijin has said in the past that they use ammunition to balance vehicles. If they think a vehicle is a specific BR, and it has a round which would make it a higher BR, they will not add it to the game. So I've got a feeling that with the Merkava, if they want to lower its BR, they could just not give it the APFSDS, but I'll be very surprised if they don't. Another thing that is not really worrying me, but it's something to think about, is the angle, which is on this upper glacis, is incredibly steep, let's say. And one of the things, after looking at this vehicle, with the turrets, look at the angles on that turret, it's crazy as well. You can see it here the best. You can see the the ridiculous angles. But one thing that happened when the Leopard 2K was released was that this upper glacis from the Leopard 2K and the turret would bounce a hell of a lot of shells in very, very odd ways because of the extreme angles. So a lot of people would be trying to pen it and thinking, oh, it doesn't really have a lot of armor, not really aiming a lot, and your APF-STS would just ping off into the sunset. Well, I've got a feeling the Merkava might be the same way, just because of this really steeply angled upper glacis and also turret. So that will be something to watch out for, and make sure that you aim correctly. It talks about in the Devblog that this will have a lot of increased crew survivability. If you didn't know, the engine of the Merkava is actually in the front. It's right next to the driver, right here on the left-hand side. So right here, whereas the driver is back here, quite far back. So if you shoot the left side, you'll probably just run into the meaty engine and make it stop moving. Another thing about the engine is it could be a little bit more powerful, only 963 horsepower for what is a 60-ton tank. It can only go 46 kilometers an hour forwards and 8 kilometers an hour in reverse. So nothing special there, much more like, 9087 Soviet MBT style. Now, since this is going to be a rank 6 and in the American tree, the one thing that is not really talked about here is the fact that all of the other vehicles that we've seen have had the premium label on them. This does not. Like, if you actually look for premium, you can see that the only thing that comes up is a message from Esmin, and then also this here. So we can kind of maybe guess that we can maybe guess that it's in the US tree because it's fits more in the US tree. But if you look at this comment from Esmin, you can see that this actually breaks the trend. So the Merkava is an event vehicle, such as the Key 94-2, IS-7 or ME-262A2, not a premium machine. Secondly, the Merkava has no real relation to the British at all. The vehicle has more American components and was actually designed based on the situation of collapsing relations with the British anyway. So if anything, it has no logical connection to the British at all, other than maybe the gun, which is the American variant anyway. And the simple fact that they took creative inspiration from the Centurion and Chieftain. So this is not going to be a premium. It is instead just going to be a gift vehicle, and I think it's a good explanation why it isn't in the British tree, right? You could say it is at least inspired of stuff like the Chieftain and the Centurion, but when we look at the historical value of the Merkava and also the historical relationship between Israel and the US, it's very hard to make the case that this thing, goes in the British tree. As well as the fact that it has what seems to be great angled armor and also some spaced armor it talks about in the Devblog, which, should also be very fun. The turret is surprisingly small. Now, what I mean by this is, if you look at this picture here, you can see that this part of the turret, if you hit it, is going to have absolutely nothing in it. And I wish they just did a straight-on view. But you can see how thin the turret is compared to the rest of the vehicle. So my feeling is the place to shoot this thing is going to be on these triangle bottoms here, so it bounces down and kills everyone, at least in the turret. But if you don't hit it there, it's going to be very hard to kill this tank, which I think is obviously, it's going to be great for the Americans, who already have a really strong rank 5 and rank 6, premium lineup, along with the gift Merkava to be put in. Also, if it is a gift vehicle, which is seemed to be said, another thing is that it might not come fully upgraded, or might not come upgraded at all. But with the new changes to how the April Fools, the 23rd of April changes coming to modifications, hopefully it will be easier to spade than other vehicles that we've had around the time. I'm very much looking forward to this tank, and also very much looking forward to the idea of some form of Israeli tech tree which will branch off from the American tech tree. I think from this point it would be nice to see have pretty much a minor tech tree come off the American one. You know how helicopters work? I thought that was a really ingenious way. You know, you get to rank 5 of planes, or you get to rank 5 of tanks, and you're able to get access to that nation's helicopters. We could easily do that for other nations which don't have full tech trees. Let's say you get to rank 5 America, and that unlocks an Israeli tech tree, and it's only a small one, so you know you don't have to grind up all from rank 1. On top of this, you could also do something like Romania, which is, you know, unlocked after hitting rank 2 Germany, or Sweden, which, to be honest, could be its own tech tree. But how about China, where, you know, you get to rank 3 Soviets, and you get to unlock the Chinese tech tree? There's all of these wonderful little ideas which could definitely be added to the game. And I think the Israelis could be the first one to exemplify this idea. But with the Merkava Mk.1 coming, now we definitely have a fully chalked up Israeli tank. Before we had the Magak, which is of course a modified American vehicle, then the Shot-Cal, which is of course a British modified vehicle. Now we have an independent Israeli vehicle, which is coming to the American tree. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank B. Young, Blackie, Dyslexic Child, Moxie, Olo Brolo, Martinez, and Super Cacti for supporting me on Patreon.